Ladies and gentlemen, there is a secret so simple, yet so powerful, that once you grasp it, your life will never look the same again. Imagine walking through life with an unshakable confidence that no matter what appears before you, everything is already working out in your favor. Imagine the peace of knowing that your future is not uncertain, but already secured in victory. The key lies in your ability to act as if everything always works out for you. Most people wait for external proof before they allow themselves to believe. But this is the great mistake. The truth is reversed. Belief comes first, and proof follows. When you assume the state of fulfillment, when you carry yourself as though what you desire is already done, you set unseen forces in motion. Circumstances rearrange themselves. People show up, and doors open in ways you could never predict. This message is not mere motivation. It is a law of life. If you will dare to accept it, and if you persist in acting as if your success is certain, your entire world must bow to the power of your assumption. Stay with me, because what you hear today can transform everything. Imagination is the foundation of reality, and this is the most profound truth you can ever come to know. Everything you see around you today once lived in the imagination of someone. The buildings, the inventions, the music, the art, the clothes you wear, even the device you are using right now, all of them were first invisible, existing only in the unseen world of thought and vision. Before they could ever be touched or experienced, they were conceived in the mind. This means your imagination is not some idle daydreaming faculty. It is the womb of creation itself, the place where your life is truly formed. Most people dismiss imagination as fantasy, something unreal. But reality itself is built upon what the mind dares to believe. If you see yourself as limited, defeated, or unlucky, then your life will faithfully mirror those inner pictures. But if you dare to see yourself as chosen, blessed, and always rising, then that too becomes your living reality. Imagination is not separate from life. It is the substance from which life is drawn. When you allow your imagination to drift carelessly, you hand over your creative power to random fears and doubts. Those images, entertained long enough, will take shape in the circumstances you meet. But when you deliberately imagine what you desire, when you take hold of your inner pictures and shape them into visions of fulfillment, you are commanding reality itself to obey you. Your imagination is the workshop of the infinite, and it never stops working. The only question is, what are you giving it to work with? To live with the conviction that everything always works out for you requires that you first picture it. So in imagination, you must rehearse in your mind a life where doors open easily, where every obstacle turns into a blessing, and where the outcome is always in your favor. The moment you do this, you are not simply entertaining a pleasant thought. You are planting the seed of a future experience. Seeds grow. What you sow in imagination, you will one day reap in reality. Think of it this way. Your imagination is a movie projector, and the world is merely the screen. If you dislike what you see in your life, do not waste time scratching at the screen. Go back to the projector. Change the reel playing inside your imagination. Play a new story where you are victorious, abundant, healthy, and deeply fulfilled. If you persist in that inner film, the outer screen of life must eventually reflect it. The greatest mistake people make is to treat imagination as a childish game, while clinging to facts as though they are final. Facts are nothing but the shadows of past imaginations. They are not permanent. They only appear solid because you continue to fuel them with belief. Change your inner vision, and the facts of your life will change accordingly. To act as if everything always works out for you, begin with the inner picture. Imagine yourself already living in the fulfillment of your desire. Feel the joy of answered prayer. Walk in the confidence of one whose path is blessed. Then, as you move through the world, carry this state with you. Life cannot resist the command of imagination held with faith. It is the origin, the foundation, and the law by which all things are made. Living in the end is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and this is the essence of creative faith. Most people place their attention on the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They beg, they hope, and they wait for evidence before they dare to believe. But to live in the end means you no longer wait. You move your mind directly into the state of fulfillment. You claim the result before it appears, and you dwell there until it feels natural. This is not pretending or acting like a child lost in fantasy. It is the deliberate choice to occupy the reality you desire so completely that the present circumstances lose their grip on you. The mind does not distinguish between what is physically present and what is vividly imagined. When you assume a state as though it is already real, the subconscious accepts it as fact, and life begins to rearrange itself to bring that assumption into visible expression. Consider the seed planted in the soil. You cannot see the flower yet, but the seed contains within it the full pattern of what will come. To live in the end is to walk through life as though the seed is already the blossom. You feel the fragrance, you admire the beauty, and you enjoy the result in consciousness long before your senses confirm it. The outer manifestation is only a matter of time, for the inner acceptance has already decreed it. When you practice this, you shift from being a seeker to being a possessor. You are no longer chasing after the desire, for in your inner world you already hold it. The tone of your mind changes. Instead of asking, "When will it happen?" you begin to rest in the assurance that it has already happened within you, and therefore it must appear without. This rest is power. This confidence draws the unseen into the seen. Living in the end demands persistence. Old doubts and fears will rise, trying to pull you back into the state of lack. But every time you return to the end, every time you remind yourself of the reality of fulfillment, you are strengthening the new state and weakening the old. Eventually, the end becomes so natural to you that the world has no choice but to reflect it. This is why you must feel from the end, not toward it. Do not imagine that one day you will be healed, successful, or loved. Imagine from the place where you already are. Feel the relief of healing complete, the joy of success attained, the warmth of love received. In doing so, you bypass the waiting and move directly into being. The world then follows your inner conviction. Living in the end is the highest form of faith because it dares to celebrate the victory before it is seen. It is thanksgiving in advance, joy before the evidence, rest before the manifestation. And because creation is finished in imagination, the one who lives in the end will surely see that end unfold in life. Faith is unseen evidence, and this is where most people stumble. They believe only in what they can touch, measure, and prove with their senses. Yet every great accomplishment, every miracle of transformation begins in the invisible. Faith is not blind, it is sight at a deeper level. It is the ability to see the reality of what you desire with the inner eye, long before the outer eye beholds it. To live by faith means you trust the unseen seed more than the barren soil. You trust the promise within you more than the circumstances around you. When you hold faith, you hold evidence in advance. Imagine holding a receipt in your hand. It proves ownership even before the delivery arrives. Faith is that receipt. It is the inner assurance that what you have imagined is already yours. Without this evidence, you remain at the mercy of appearances. But with faith, you stand in the certainty that what you seek is already secured in the unseen realm. The outer world may shout lack and delay, but faith whispers fulfillment, and in time the whisper proves louder than the noise. True faith is not mere wishing. Wishing keeps the desire distant, always somewhere in the future. Faith closes the gap. It declares, "It is mine now." It rests in the conviction that reality is already shifted in your favor. When you enter that state, life bends to meet your inner belief. Doors open, opportunities arise, and people are moved into position. But none of this happens until the inner evidence is accepted as fact. This is why doubt is so destructive. Doubt is faith in the opposite direction. It is unseen evidence of failure, misfortune, or loss. And just as faith brings your desire to life, doubt brings your fear to life. Both are creative. Both act as evidence. The choice is yours. Which evidence will you hold to be true? When you practice faith, you practice living beyond the visible. You no longer let circumstances dictate your mood or decisions. Instead, you let the unseen conviction guide you. Imagine the joy of knowing that no matter how impossible something appears, you already hold the evidence of its completion within. This confidence produces peace. You stop striving and start allowing. You stop forcing and start resting in the unseen truth. Faith is not fragile. It does not depend on constant external reassurance. Real faith persists even when nothing outside supports it. In fact, the absence of evidence is often the test of its strength. To continue declaring, "It is done," when all appearances contradict you, that is the power of faith. And it is this power that moves mountains,
changes lives, and turns dreams into living realities. So when you desire something, do not beg, do not wait anxiously for signs. Instead, go inward and claim the unseen evidence. Feel the satisfaction of possession now. Let that inner evidence become more real to you than any outer fact. In time, the world will rearrange itself to catch up with what your faith already knew. Faith is not hope, it is certainty. It is unseen evidence that guarantees the outcome, and whoever lives by it will see the invisible become visible. Emotions fuel manifestation because they are the lifeblood of imagination. Thoughts alone are like dry seeds, but when you add emotion, you water them and give them the energy to grow. The universe does not simply respond to idle words or shallow images in the mind. It responds to the vibration of
feeling that accompanies them. When you think of something with no emotion, it passes like a cloud. But when you think of it and feel joy, relief, gratitude, or excitement, as though it is already real, you charge that thought with power. You breathe life into it, and it begins to take form in your world. Most people try to create change by force through constant effort and struggle, yet their emotions betray them. They may affirm success, but deep down they feel unworthy. They may speak of abundance, but they secretly carry fear of lack. What they do not realize is that the subconscious mind accepts emotion as truth more than words. It listens not to what you say, but to what you feel. This is why mastering your emotions is the key to mastering your reality. When you begin to act as if everything always works out for you, your greatest task is to embody the emotion of that truth. Imagine how it feels to live a life where doors open easily, where blessings chase you down, where problems resolve themselves in unexpected ways. Feel the lightness, the peace, the joy of such a life. That emotion is the signal you send into the unseen. The more you dwell in that feeling, the more it saturates your being until it becomes natural. And once it is natural, it must manifest outwardly. Emotion is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Think of a powerful memory, perhaps a moment of love, triumph, or gratitude. When you recall it vividly, the same emotion rises in you again. That feeling colors your body, your tone of voice, your outlook on life. It changes everything in an instant. This is the same process you use for your desired future. By deliberately stirring the emotions of fulfillment now, you draw that future closer. Some resist this, believing they cannot control their emotions. But emotions are not random. They are the children of thought. Change your inner story, and the emotions must change with it. If you tell yourself a story of failure, fear will follow. If you tell yourself a story of victory, joy will rise. You are never a victim of feeling. You are the author of the thought that produces it. This is why gratitude is such a powerful state. Gratitude is the emotion of already having received. When you live in gratitude, even before the outer gift appears, you are declaring with feeling that it is done. This draws the unseen into the seen with speed and certainty. Likewise, joy, love, and peace carry high creative power. When you persist in them, life mirrors them back to you. So let your imagination be drenched in emotion. Do not merely think about your desire. Feel it. Live in the relief, the excitement, the serenity of fulfillment. Walk as though you cannot fail, and let the feeling of success saturate your days. That emotion is the energy that fuels manifestation, and once it burns brightly within you, no external circumstance can resist it. Persistence rewrites destiny because the mind is a garden, and every thought is a seed. One passing thought, lightly entertained, may not take root. But when you return again and again to the same inner image, you impress it upon the subconscious. Persistence is the steady watering of the seed, the constant nurturing of the vision, until it grows into form. Most people give up too quickly. They imagine what they desire once or twice, but when outer circumstances show no change, they abandon the vision. They return to old assumptions and wonder why life repeats itself. What they fail to see is that persistence is the difference between dreams that fade and destinies that unfold. Every great change in life begins within, and persistence ensures that the new inner state replaces the old. The subconscious does not change instantly. It is shaped by repetition, by constant dwelling on a chosen idea. When you persist in the belief that everything always works out for you, you are reprogramming the very foundation of your life. Old doubts may rise, appearances may contradict you, but each time you return to the end result, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new. Eventually, the scale tips, and the new state becomes your natural home. Persistence is not struggle. It is not anxious effort. It is quiet determination, the willingness to return to your inner vision, no matter what happens outside. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at stone. Each strike may seem small, insignificant, but over time the form emerges. So it is with your persistence. Each time you dwell on the wish fulfilled, each time you feel the joy of the end, you are shaping reality, even if no visible change appears at first. The world tests your persistence by presenting you with the old picture. This is not failure. It is simply the shadow of past beliefs still lingering. If you abandon your vision here, the shadow wins. But if you persist, refusing to bow to appearances, the shadow must dissolve, and the new reality will stand revealed. This is why persistence is power. It proves that you value the unseen truth more than the temporary evidence of the senses. Destiny is not fixed. It is written and rewritten by the assumptions you hold. A man who persists in defeat writes a life of struggle. A woman who persists in victory writes a story of triumph. The pen is always in your hand, and persistence is the ink. Every time you return to the inner state of fulfillment, you write another line in the script of your destiny. And when the script is complete, the play of life must perform it. When you desire something, make a decision. Persist until it becomes natural. Refuse to be shaken by delays, denials, or doubts. Instead, see them as reminders to return again to the end. Feel the joy of having it now, again and again, until the feeling becomes effortless. The day will come when you realize you no longer need to force the vision. It lives in you automatically. That is the sign that destiny has been rewritten. Persistence may seem ordinary, but it is the secret behind every extraordinary transformation. Hold fast to your inner vision, and life will reshape itself around you. Persistence does not fail, for it is the steady hand that guides imagination into reality. Your inner self is the creator, the hidden power that shapes every experience you call life. Outwardly, you may believe that circumstances, luck, or the actions of others determine your destiny. But beneath appearances lies a deeper truth. Everything you encounter in the external world is the mirror of the world within. The inner self, through imagination and belief, projects the pattern that becomes your reality. What you accept as true inwardly must express itself outwardly, for life has no choice but to reflect the contents of consciousness. Most people live unaware of this truth. They believe they are victims of chance, tossed by the winds of fate. They fight circumstances, complain about conditions, and attempt to change the world while leaving their inner state untouched. But this is like trying to change a reflection in a mirror without changing the object it reflects. If the inner self is fearful, the world will appear threatening. If the inner self is abundant, opportunities will overflow. The outer is always secondary, the inner is always primary. To realize that your inner self is the creator is to take back authority over your life. You no longer wait passively for change to come from the outside. You no longer beg the world to give you what you desire. Instead, you turn inward, and you plant the seeds of the life you wish to live. You imagine, you feel, you believe as though it is already so, and the inner self accepts this as reality. Once accepted, it sets in motion a chain of events, moving people, circumstances, and opportunities into alignment with your inner conviction. This power does not sleep, nor does it rest. It is always creating, whether you guide it deliberately or not. If you fill your inner self with doubt, fear, or limitation, it will faithfully project a life of struggle. If you fill it with confidence, joy, and certainty, it will manifest a life of success. The responsibility is profound, but so is the freedom. You are never at the mercy of chance, because the true creator of your destiny resides within you. The key is awareness. Become conscious of what you are entertaining inwardly. Do not allow negative imaginations to run unchecked, for they will solidify into unwanted experiences. Instead, take hold of your inner world. Direct it with intention. Choose to dwell in visions that uplift and empower. When you do this consistently, your inner self becomes a fountain of creation, producing outer conditions that match the beauty of your inner vision. The inner self does not argue. It does not judge. It accepts whatever you feed it. Tell it a story of defeat, and it will create defeat. Tell it a story of victory, and it will create victory. This is why discipline of thought and feeling is essential. You are always speaking to the inner self, and it is always listening.
To act as if everything always works out for you is to align with the truth that your inner self is the creator. You walk with confidence, not because the outer world has given you reason, but because the creator within has already decreed it. And as surely as day follows night, the outer world must eventually bow to the authority of the inner. When you awaken to this truth and live by it, you discover that you are not a victim of life. You are the author of it. Everything you have heard leads to this one unshakable truth. Your life is not ruled by chance nor by circumstance, but by the state you dare to assume within. Imagination is the foundation. Living in the end is the secret. Faith is the unseen evidence. Emotion is the power that fuels it. Persistence is the hand that rewrites destiny. And the inner self, the true you, is the creator of all that you call reality. To act as if everything always works out for you is not a hopeful gesture. It is the law of life in action. The moment you claim this as your nature, the world begins to bend in agreement. What once looked like obstacles will turn into pathways. What once seemed delayed will arrive at the perfect time. And what once appeared impossible will stand before you as fact. Do not wait for proof before you believe. Become the proof. Assume the end. Feel it as real. Persist until it is natural. And let your world mirror your conviction. If you will live from this truth, you will discover that life is not against you. It has always been working for you, waiting only for you to act as if everything always works out for you.